Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I put together a clip for you guys to show you what's really going on and how it's not about a racial divide and it's not about a sexual divide in the United States. What we are dealing with is a divide between the moral and immoral, liars versus truth seekers, destroyers versus builders, and I'm going to prove it right now. And it has nothing to do with race because I'm going to show you both black and white people being the destroyer. And also, this is not about rich versus poor, because you have the same dichotomy among the rich, where a lot of them are evil, lying destroyers, and they don't care about anything but their own personal gain or corporate gain. And then on the flip side of that, you have a lot of rich people who are truth seekers, who do come out and want to shut down all of the liars and the demonic people.
In the state of Florida, our education standards not only don't prevent, but they require teaching Black history, all the important things. That's part of our core curriculum. This was a separate course on top of that for advanced placement credit. And the issue is we have guidelines and standards in Florida.
Now, basically what I'm showing you here is, this is Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida explaining the new laws that he's trying to enact and get passed to help save children of every race from evil indoctrination. And it's a lot of the teachers and academia, even at the highest university levels, all the way down to kindergarten. Most of our teachers are liberal-minded and they're indoctrinated to the left. And that's what he's trying to fight, and I'm going to prove it right here.
Education, not indoctrination. If you fall on the side of indoctrination, we're going to decline. If it's education, then we will do this course. So when I heard it didn't meet the standards, I figured, yeah, they may be doing serious. It's way more than that. This course on Black history, what's one of the lessons about? Queer theory. Now, who would say that an important part of Black history is queer theory? That is somebody pushing an agenda on our kids. And so when you look to see they have stuff about intersectionality, abolishing prisons, that's a political agenda. And so that's the wrong side of the line for Florida standards. We believe in teaching kids facts and how to think, but we don't believe they should have an agenda imposed on them. When you try to use Black history to shoehorn in queer theory, you are clearly...
And if you rewind and go back to the beginning, he said, we must teach Black history, and we must teach about prominent Black figures in American history. And I even had a video exposing the demonic lies about early American slavery, where I proved, and nobody has been able to refute it, prove me wrong, or debate it. There's just a bunch of emotional responses I get where I proved that there was a man named Anthony Johnson, and he was the first colonist. He was a black man. He was the first colonist in the 13 colonies to own a slave lifelong in the United States. And before that, what we call slavery was indentured servitude, which isn't really, in the United States in the beginning, it wasn't really slavery. But it's labeled as a form of slavery. But Anthony Johnson himself, the colonist, the plantation owner, the black man, he was an indentured servant. And so were all the many of his time coming from Africa here to work. They got land and pay after their work contracts were over. And then they became rich right alongside the white man. I proved all of this, and it's all fact-based. And a lot of people have emotional responses to the truth.
Trying to use that for political purposes.
DeSantis, I was just thinking about you.
Now these two I wanted to put together for you because it shows clearly that this is a kind of like a redneck. You would consider him a redneck, which I have nothing against rednecks because I live among rednecks. I live in the Appalachian Mountains of North Carolina. So what you consider rednecks, I live among them and I love them, and I would not want to be anywhere else. The only reason I'm calling him a redneck is because he sounds like one, and he's going to come across that way to everybody. But there's nothing wrong with these people we call rednecks. But I just wanted to show you there's a redneck man and a urban city type black woman. So a white redneck man, urban city type black woman, or she might be a redneck herself, I don't know. But they are unified. And this is me showing you that race has nothing to do with what we're dealing with in the United States. This is a battle between good and evil. Now these two are unified under an evil agenda because they're both lying right now about what Ron DeSantis is trying to do.
I was just thinking about your logic. Now, you're banning African American studies in all public schools in Florida. I'm thinking, now you got to be fair, Ronnie.
He's not banning African American studies, and he clearly stated that. You moron.
You don't look like a fascist, or you don't look like a white supremacist. So to be fair, because I don't think you want to look like a fascist by telling people what they can and cannot study, right? You don't want to just force one thing on people. You don't want to force just whiteness on people, right? So to be...
He's not trying to force whiteness on people. He's just trying to force decent education upon all kids of all colors. And not this trying to make kids into hypersexual beings at the age of 5 and up. And that's what the left is trying to do. They're trying to introduce adult sexual topics to children at even in pre-K and up. It's ridiculous.
Fair, I think you ought to ban all European history, all American history that involves Caucasians or white people. Also, while you're at it...
And look at her, in full agreement of the stupid lie, because she's part of the stupid lying.
Ban all Christian studies. We should not be allowed to learn about the Christian religion or any white contribution in American history. If you can't learn about black contributions, and you can't learn about African American history in school, then why can't you learn about European history in school?
What a couple of dummies. See, this is what we're dealing with. And I hope you guys in other countries are paying attention, because it's happening in your country too. You got a bunch of stupid, evil dummies wrecking everything. You got to start speaking out against it.
Or white European history in school. I'm just saying, to be fair.
If you can, safely. In America, we still have the freedom of speech. Maybe in your country, that all got squashed years ago, to where if you speak up, you get hauled off and dealt with, or eliminated in some way, or your career destroyed, and things like that. That's starting to happen in America now.
Right? We don't want to discriminate. But anyhow, if that ain't the case, then I guess that you are a fascist. You want to force it on people. You want to force whiteness on people. And you want to hide the truth about the Black Holocaust, about enslavement of Africans. You want to hide it all.
I already exposed all these guys' demonic lies about early American slavery. And if you want to check it out, I'll put a card right up here, somewhere up in my video right now. And you can go click on it, and I'll show you the facts about early American slavery.
Lynching, Jim Crow, all the whole thing that...
Everything that these people talk about is built on lies. They're just completely brainwashed and moronic and have no ability to learn new things to get them out of their brainwashing, or they're just completely evil and they know they're lying to destroy everything and everybody.
So you're running on the Jim Crow 2.0 ballot, just like...
And I don't think it's even a bad thing. I don't hate evil, because I believe that there's a balance to be struck between conservatism and liberalism. And when we strike that balance, we're at our best.
Trump did.
This is not something that I want us to do in regards to...
But we're heavily unbalanced right now, leaning to the left, and it's been sliding further and further that way. They're moving the goalposts and shifting the whole political spectrum. The whole socio-political spectrum has been shifted heavily to the left, to where people who used to be on the fence in the center got just automatically by default pushed to the right and pushed to conservatism when they never even really wanted to, but it's now just that default position because the loony birds and the cuckoo banana people have gone so far lefty that this is just happening by default. That happened to me, actually. I just got kind of shoved onto the right without even trying to. I'm a truth seeker. And when I speak the truth, it's like splashing holy water on a demon. You ever see a movie where the priest or whatever is splashing holy water on a demon and the demon wriggles in agony? They go, and the skin starts burning. That's the equivalent to just calmly uttering and speaking the truth to somebody who is evil. When you utter the truth to an evil person, it's basically the same as splashing holy water on a demon. They get upset, they get angry, they wriggle in agony, and they want to lash out at you and destroy you.
Having librarians have to approve every book that's in the class, okay, or having to oversee teachers, but the teachers bought it on themselves, right?
And it's also why you see censorship of conservatives and propping up of liberally minded people. So you're being censored if you're moral and a truth seeker, and you are propped up if you're immoral and a liar. For some reason, I don't know why the American culture has shifted that way over the last 10 to 20 years. Actually, it's been about 60 years now. Ever since the civil rights movement, there's been a bunch of lies involved with that, and I'm going to show you guys what Malcolm X has to say about all of this right when we finish this clip. I'm going to show you what Malcolm X has to say about what's going on in America, and he said it nearly 60 years ago.
Because these teachers, these woke teachers, have infiltrated these schools and have started to try to, again, brainwash these children with woke gender and sexual ideology. So, hey, lawmakers have to respond, and we have to do what we got to do.
Oh, if you're wondering, this gentleman in the little picture-in-picture at the bottom, his name is on YouTube. His channel is Black Conservative Perspective. So if you want to check him out, he's Black Conservative Perspective. I love this man. We are brothers from another mother. Actually, we live in the same state of North Carolina, I believe. And he is a beautiful human being. He's a truth seeker. And I love him, and his skin color has nothing to do with that. We are in brotherhood because we're both truth seekers. And we are against demonic liars. We are against the destroyers. Him and I are builders. They are destroyers. So of course we're against them.
To make sure that kids aren't being exposed to adult content in schools. A reasonable person would agree with this. But because the left is not reasonable, they're actually melting down and crying over this, talking about Ron DeSantis is trying to ban books, right? And one of the people who literally almost came to tears over this was Dr. Rashad Ritchie.
Governor Ron DeSantis is now threatening to arrest school teachers because they have the audacity to have books in the classroom.
He said audacity just to have books in the classroom. And you'll notice when he's speaking, he's not going to mention that these are books for critical race theory that is indoctrinating all of our youth. It makes all of the non-whites believe that they're victims falsely. And it makes all of the white children believe that they're evil oppressors falsely, which destroys both groups. I also want to mention that I have seen so many trans and gay people coming out in opposition to this kind of indoctrination of children. I've seen tons and tons and hundreds of videos of gay and trans people discussing, please, let's leave children out of this. Let's leave children to be pure for a little while longer until they're introduced to adult topics such as sex, racism, and sociopolitics. And I agree with all of those gay and trans people. And on the other side of the gay and trans coin, you have the ones that want to get at a child right when they are of thinking age, like 4 years old, and the excuse that they make for indoctrinating children is that they want to create future allies of LGB and all that. So they say, which is, I think, a complete lie. I don't think that they're trying to make future allies for LGBT, because there's LGBT people making videos saying we shouldn't be doing this. They're trying to make future allies for the demon class. The demon class of humanity. And like I said, I don't hate the demon class of humanity. I think they're a necessary function put here by, if you're atheist, put here by the universe for a very specific reason. Or if you're religious, they were put here by God for temptation, so you can be judged. How else are you going to be judged if there's no evil? How are you going to be judged? How is your soul going to be judged and then you placed accordingly when you die if there's no temptation? And you have to have evil characters all among the human race in order to give you that temptation that you have to then deny. But like I said, I'm not religious, but I'm not against religions either.
Just regular books. Let me give you this story.
Yeah.
See, you hear that? He said he's trying to ban books. He said Governor Ron DeSantis is trying to ban books and just regular books. Let me play it for you again.
Just regular books.
Boom.
Let me give you this story. Because they have the audacity to have books in the classroom. Just regular books.
Lies. Do you see how the demons operate, guys? And feel free to share this video with anybody you need to try to awaken from this kind of demonic state of being that they're in, running with these lies. Show it to your friends and family, because this video that I'm putting together proves that nothing is about racism, nothing is about what's in between your legs or your sexual preferences, and it's not about the rich versus poor. This is about demons versus good people. This is about builders versus destroyers. And this is why, but I'll make another video about why we have this eternal battle between good and evil, and why I think it's a great programming from either God or the universe. I'll explain it in another video, I promise.
Let me give you this story.
Yeah. So he's saying that Ron DeSantis wants to have teachers arrested for having books in the classroom. Just regular books, he says. Right? Just regular books.
You guys got to check out Black Conservative Perspective. He's a really cool guy, and he's a truth seeker. And I know a lot of you will hate him for that, because not all of us are truth seekers. The liars and demons among us will definitely hate this young man. But he is a beautiful soul, and you should check him out. Black Conservative Perspective.
Again, what a hell of a way of just flat out distorting the truth in regards to what this legislation actually does. But because we're a fact-based channel, we have to work in the framework of facts.
And there's 1,000 more like him on YouTube. Black truth seekers that are against all the nonsense that the United States and the whole international community is doing right now. It's not just the United States. I put out a community post asking all of my subscribers and whoever's paying attention, I described the left and how they operate in my country, and I asked them if it all sounds familiar and if they operate the same way. Everybody from every country said, yep, it's exactly the same here. They use the same exact tactics, same lies, the same kind of deception. And at the end, I'm going to show you what Malcolm X has to say about all this.
I'm going to actually bring you guys a fact check so you guys can see exactly what this legislation is about, so you guys can get a better understanding of what's going on here before we get into Rashard Richie's ridiculous meltdown.
So what is going on here? Well, we can verify. This is the memo issued to Manatee County teachers about this just a few days ago. The district's chief of staff shared it with me. It is true, under this new state law, every book must now be approved by a certified media specialist first, based on very specific training guidelines from the state. You see right here, those guidelines advise media specialists to avoid materials with, quote, unsolicited theories that may lead to student indoctrination. Having unvetted books or books that aren't allowed could result in a felony charge. Manatee School's Chief of Staff Kevin Chapman explained to me that first, every book has to be cross-checked now with the...
And I also want to mention that you might see somebody in the comments saying, Adam, you're ridiculous. You're so stupid because this is about the rich versus the poor, the system against the normal working man or the bum on the street or the drug addict on the streets. The system is geared to make that guy be a drug addict on the street and ruin his life and put him in jail and oppress him. Those people are so off base and so wrong. What we're dealing with is not a battle between rich versus poor. This is not a class battle. This is a battle between good and evil, and it's eternal, and I'm going to prove it in an upcoming video. And I'm also going to explain why it is necessary for the human condition to have this eternal battle between good and evil. We cannot have utopia. Humanity, the human condition will not allow utopia, because you can be on a deserted island with 10 people that you bring there that all have a like mind with you. Say they're all equally moral or all equally evil and chaotic. You go there with those 10 people that are all equal in chaos or goodness, and what's going to happen is eventually you're just going to have more of what you tried to escape come right out between women's legs like we normally do. It's unavoidable. It's programmed this way.
List of what's already approved. If it is not already, it then has to be evaluated for approval. He said it's likely that many of the books in teachers' classrooms are already on this approved list. To be clear now, the district did not directly tell teachers to shut down their classroom libraries and pull everything out until all of this process plays out, but many are opting to do so anyway.
Popular information. Mr. Chapman said that the policy...
Now here's that Mr. Ritchie speaking again, who was calling Ron DeSantis Ron DeSatan. He's speaking again now.
...was put into place last week in response to House Bill 1467, which is now signed into law by DeSantis. That law established that teachers could not be trusted to select books appropriate for their students.
They can't.
In Florida, school librarians are called media specialists and hold
They
media
have
specialist
proved that they can't be
certificates.
trusted to approve
A rule
material
passed
for
by the Florida
educational
Department of Education
purposes.
Last week,
They are
states
destroying
that a library
our
media
future
center
generations
includes any books made available
with
to
lies
students,
and nonsense.
including in classrooms. This means that classroom libraries that students that are curated by teachers, not librarians, are now illegal. They are illegal against the law. There was ambiguity about this during the signing of the bill. As a matter of fact, some Republicans assumed when they backed the play of Governor DeSantis, they were not going to eliminate a teacher's ability to teach.
Well, they're not. A teacher can teach. They're just eliminating a teacher's ability.
And I love the way Greg, he cracks up all the time on his channel because it's so ridiculous what the left does. And he'll just crack up. He'll bust out laughing. Sometimes almost roll over in his chair, fall out of his chair laughing because it's so funny and ridiculous. And I feel the same way. I think a lot of you think I'm upset or riled up about something. This is comedy to me. The left is straight comedy. It's so funny. I mean, it's sad that they destroy so many people. Yes, and I agree with that. It's very sad and unfortunate, and we should try to stop it. But if we're unable to stop it, you can't let yourself get bogged down in the mind or riled up or upset or emotional about all of these things going on. It's kind of comedic if you really think about it. And it's better than a stand-up routine to me. I'm laughing all day watching these videos. People spouting nonsense.
To have inappropriate content in their classrooms.
Okay, So there's evidence and facts that they are lying. The left is a bunch of liars. And I'm going to show you what Malcolm X have to say. Now, before I show you what Malcolm X had to say, I want to remind you guys of the lies about Native American history video that I made recently. And I'll link to it. I'll put up a card right here so you can click on it now if you haven't seen that video. If you want to go watch it sometime in the future. It's going to be in the same playlist as this video though. And this shows the Fabian Society in England. And some of this started in France, and it also came out of England. But the Fabian Society is, you go to their header in their website. Their website is online right now. You can go to their website, and in the header it says the future of the left since 1884. That's how long they've been infiltrating nations all around the world, indoctrinating people with lies and nonsense. And their first logo, I explained and I showed, was a wolf in sheep's clothing, which, that's a very demonic logo. I don't know why they would just put their agenda right out in the open like that, but their first logo was a wolf in sheep clothing. The second logo was when that one got a little bit of pushback because it's so evil looking, which it is. Then they had an evil looking turtle that says, a banner under it that says, "When I strike hard." Then, if we move down, you'll see in the stained glass window in the London School of Economics, it shows the Fabian Society's artwork here from a long time ago, where they are getting the world hot. And then when it's hot and ready, like a hot iron, then they strike. They don't make their intentions fully known. They tried that, but they learned over time how to be really sneaky and infiltrate academia, school systems, corporations, everything. They're in everything. And I'm not saying it's the Fabian Society. It is the left. The Fabian Society is just an arm of the left. So there's some information on that, but you probably can't see it. It was commissioned in 1910, this stained glass window. So what we're dealing with is timeless. And in my future video that I'm going to do about the eternal battle between good and evil and why it's a necessary function and necessary programming in the human condition. And that's why I said I don't hate evil. And I don't hate the devil's children. The devil's children. You know, I'm not religious, but I just use those terms metaphorically. Now I need to insert this clip. I know certain comments are going to come and certain ideas are going to pop into people's heads amongst the atheist arenas, where they're going to claim that religious people are stupid and can't prove what they claim about God. And all of their notions about the Creator are stupid. All of the notions about tribal people believing in the Great Spirit and Hindus believing in the Supreme Being, all of that's stupid. That's what atheists say. The reality is, atheists do the same thing that they're yelling at other people for doing, or debating other people for doing. They'll say, you're saying a whole bunch of stuff from archaic times and ancient times that can't be proven. And you're doing the same thing. You're saying something that you can't prove, that God does not exist. Now, agnostics are not so bad about it, but people who are atheists, they have a claim that God does not exist, and never in a million years would you be able to prove that God does not exist. So I think it's hypocritical and a little bit silly for people who like to point fingers and yell at everybody else, saying that they have notions and ideas that they can't prove. They do the exact same thing, but on the opposite side. They say God does not exist and there's no way possible to prove that. And also another thing I want to say about the atheists, they have a warmth and they cozy up to simulation theory. So if you happen to be an atheist who believes in simulation theory, or your mind leans that way, I know not all atheists believe in simulation theory, but a lot do. And it's mostly made up of atheists, the whole simulation theorists arena is made up of mostly atheists. And what that is basically just a new religion. So we've made, what, 5,000, almost 5,000 religions now since the beginning of recorded history. And it's just people trying to interpret our creators. And that's what simulation theory does. So basically, you've just taken God and made him into a software engineer and a programmer that programmed the simulation. Or it could be a group of gods like the Hindus and other belief systems. They have many gods. And you're just doing that. And it's ancient. What you're doing is the same thing. So you're just creating a new religion where God's the programmer now. And you'll never be able to prove any of that either in a million years. So what we're dealing with is timeless. And in my future video that I'm going to do about the eternal battle between good and evil and why it's a necessary function and necessary programming in the human condition. And that's why I said I don't hate evil, and I don't hate the devil's children. The devil's children. You know, I'm not religious, but I just use those terms metaphorically. I don't actually know if they are actually the devil's children, all these demonic liars. But I for sure know 100% that they operate for the forces of evil and destruction. And it has nothing to do with class or being rich or poor. Because we have the largest population of people of color, especially black people, ever created on earth. The largest population of rich, successful, stable black people on earth. So is being rich being evil? Why do we have so many rich black people and so many rich conservatives and liberals? It has nothing to do with being rich or poor. This is not a battle between classes like that. This is a battle between good and evil, and people who can't see that are just not awakened yet. They'll make every excuse in the world to keep running with lies and nonsense. And they'll type in comments saying, Adam's just wrong and stupid. He doesn't understand what's going on. The rich just want to take over. No, it's not all rich people. It's just the demonic rich people. And of course, demonic rich people are going to have way more power to do demonic destructive things on the earth than good rich people. Good rich people are not going, they're going to work towards progress and fixing things. Evil rich people are going to work towards destruction and personal gain. Basically, they just want personal gain, and they're greedy. They don't care what they destroy to get that. Now, let's hear from Malcolm X. Now, before I press play on this clip, he was also hateful towards people over their skin color. Because I think he was mistaken for that. He had a character flaw for that, but he also knows the truth when he sees it.
Game of power politics here in America. The Negro, namely the race problem, integration, civil rights issue, are all nothing but tools used by the whites who call themselves liberals against another group of whites who call themselves conservatives.
So did you hear what he said? Let's play it back.
Problem, integration, game of power politics here in America. The Negro, namely the race problem, integration, civil rights issue, are all nothing but tools.
Are all nothing but tools. The race problems, the civil rights issue, are nothing but tools.
Used by the whites who call themselves liberal.
Used by the whites who call themselves liberal. And look at the date he said this. December 4th, 1963. That's 60 years ago. Oh no. Yeah. 1960 to 2000, that's 40, and then 20 more. Yeah, that's 60 years ago. This has been going on since the dawn of man. Good versus evil.
Against another group of whites who call themselves conservatives.
Okay, I'm not going to bore you with all that. You can go and look up these clips for yourself. Now, what you're looking at here is the little Mimi. that I made for you guys that I thought was funny. Remember that clip where he says, "You never go full. Never go full. You know what?" So what we're dealing with on a global, international scale is leftists are a bunch of liars. They are destroyers. And the other side of the aisle are builders and truth seekers. And this is eternal. And the reason why you have to classify, I see some people saying, "Oh, you shouldn't categorize people in blah, 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 blah." Why can't you categorize liars versus truth seekers? Because they're so easy to identify. It's the same as categorizing orangutan being separate from a chimpanzee. It's clear and obvious. So of course humankind is going to categorize it because that's what science does. That's what we've been done since day one to create our language and to be able to speak, is we have to categorize and place things into categories. I can't believe some people don't understand these concepts, or they think these concepts are evil. If you don't categorize anything, we cease to be human. We cease to exist. And if you don't separate good from evil, you wind up with a destroyed society, a destroyed city, and a destroyed civilization. All right, I just wanted to show you guys some facts and evidence of the demonic nature that we are up against here. And like I said, it's nothing you should get emotional about, riled up about. It's kind of funny when you look at it. Sometimes I fall out of my chair laughing so hard. I'm laughing so hard at these people that I'll almost fall out of my chair. And it's not anything that's going to give me a heart attack or any gray hair, because I understand it, and I've understood it almost my whole life long, that this is nothing to get freaked out about, because I understand the programming involved. And I'm going to make a video about that, how good and evil, whether maybe you want to look at it as yin and yang. You know, the yin-yang symbol for the Buddhism philosophy? That really sums it up. Yin and yang are one. Good and evil are one in the human condition. And neither can be separated from each other and pulled apart. This is something we're always going to be dealing with and always going to have to deal with. But that doesn't mean you should just ride the fence, because you were given a moral foundation the same way you were given your instructions in your DNA for your eye color, your hair texture, your skin color, your nose shape, everything. I believe that's where the instructions for your moral foundation reside, and I believe society and circumstance might adjust that slightly, but it can't adjust it too much. You have a moral foundation built into you, and you are judged, I believe, accordingly when you die. The judging process takes that factor into consideration. So somebody who's given a strong moral foundation is judged more harshly than somebody who is given a weaker moral foundation. So this person with a weaker moral foundation will get a more lenient judging, because they were a tool that had to be here. They had to exist, just like the person who can do no wrong. There's people that can do no wrong, and lying and cheating and stealing hurts their physical being because of their moral foundation that was implanted there in their DNA. And that's why you have people who, when they lie, cheat, and steal, they feel nothing. They feel no pain. So I believe that some people just need to understand this and step down. Like when we get too far out of control and we're getting chaotic and destructive, the people who are screaming for more of that need to step down and understand that if you keep screaming that, you're not going to have a house anymore. You're not going to have a life anymore. Somebody is going to take it from you. because there is no order. You're breaking down the order. So people on the left who are for chaos and destruction, they need to step down and let others take control before we lose everything. That's my thoughts.